I mean, he shouldn't be losing some of these games. Like, we've seen him play better, and I want you to think about that. Let's introduce our players, and then let me know what you think about that. Here on the east side of the map, we have got the Red Terran playing a great game in the first series here. It is Complexity Heart. And in the south position as the blue Protoss, you know, are we going to see the best of him come out? And will it be this game right here? He certainly needs it. It's Startail Parting. Now, Grubby, I want to ask that question again. What do you think? The fans out there, if there's anyone out there that's like, Grubby, what's going on? I feel like Parting should be doing way better than that. What do you tell them?
If there was a sort of magical congregation of fan sorcerers and they could plant this thought in Parting's mind or even in emotion, I feel like they would be saying, dude, relax. I feel like the analysis from our from QXC and Axelav, it is kind of a resounding analysis of showing that Parting is displaying a lack of patience, basically. Everything he does almost seems tinged by a feeling of impatience, and if he cannot slow down that racing heart, if he can't hold his horses, maybe we will see the same thing over and over. And it's painful to see. I mean, it's he's making a lot of obvious mistakes. We all know about his incredible potential. He has a very high opinion of his own Protoss versus Terran play as well. He has done very well recently against a lot of absolutely world-class Terrans. And now he's just kind of killing himself almost. Of course, nothing to take away from his opponents, who are displaying absolutely amazing skills, but perhaps he should just play a little bit more patient. Can he rally himself and do that in this game? We'll have to wait and see.
I think that's a great observation, and it's not like Parting is a stranger to a big venue, a large crowd, a big audience, high-pressured games. I mean, between the GSL, the GSTL, even, you know, being at IPL4. I mean, there's like so many different things. So here we are at the probably the perfect venue for him. You know, the players that he can go up against. Of course, you know, the fact that he's got focused matches. He doesn't have to worry about sort of a random coming into play or someone who he doesn't know how to play.
He knows who he's going to face.
Exactly. So, you know, I think that kind of advice could go a really, really long way. And we're going to see a similar opening from Heart here as what we saw in the last game, assuming that
actually, Heart has gone for a double barracks.
Oh, wait, he did. Okay.
He's going for one reactor barracks, and with a tech lab, obviously, on the second barracks, he effectively locked the probe out of the base, so there's no knowledge by Parting except that there is a triple supply depot wall off. So it could be basically anything. And what I'm very surprised about is that Parting has pretty much chosen to go with a double gas opening almost all of his games, perhaps all. And it does actually make sense to do that against Heart, because if you know, if a little bird whispered to you that your opponent is going for 1-1-1, perhaps the most ideal opening is double gas, robo, double gateway, and that's what he's opening up with. No, hold that thought, he's actually adding a third gateway, so already has cut probes, is sitting on 23 probes, so this is actually looking exactly like the build that he did against Marine King on Cloud Kingdom. Triple gateway with a very fast robo, a lot of sentries, and then we'll probably do an Immortal Bust. And not a bad choice on these positions. It allows him to be effectively defensive for the first few minutes of the game. The pressure that is coming now is not nearly as big of a problem as if he had chosen to go for a quick Nexus or some kind of play involving a late game. And the way it works out, when you go Immortal and Triple Gateway against double barracks, it's actually one of the most perfect situations you could imagine.
One thing I really like what Complexity Heart is doing right now is he's completely hidden these Marauders from the view of Parting, just thinking that this is kind of a possible little Marine push. Now, of course, it's going to be given away right here, and we've seen this kind of build work by a Terran to great effect. Get that Concussive Shell first, maybe even catch a couple of Stalkers out on the field. I mean, with the force field potential here, I don't see a whole lot of damage happening, but you know, let's see exactly what he's gonna try to pull off here. In fact, he's just going to go ahead and back off, which I think is the right decision. He leaves one Marine down here just below the ramp to make sure that he can tell when the expansion comes or when this move out actually happens. So
basically, this 2 racks is designed to cancel or kill a player who's going for a quick Nexus. He saw there's no Nexus, there's no reason to barrel up the hill. As for Parting, he was actually moving his army back in his base a bit, saying, what if you're landing your factory there, or maybe doing like a quick drop. He left 1 sentry in the front. He was very vigilant. And look here, they are so close, but they don't know.
Yeah.
They're so close to each other, but they don't know.
No idea. And actually, look at this. Is there tower control? Yes, the Marine does have tower control.
Oh,
what does he do
so
here?
funny.
What does he do? Right, I mean, right now, Complexity Heart's going to move his way back in. He's got no bunker at the top of his ramp, but he's just got this army that is sitting here outside of it. Finally, it begins to move, and it's starting to head right to the front. Oh, a Zealot gets warped in, so there'll be no force fields there at the top of the ramp. And what does Parting do?
This is almost looking like it will definitely be a base trade in about 2 minutes. Parting's army cannot be stopped by Heart. And the same is true for the reverse. The big attack coming in here with the Immortals and the Force Fields and the Guardian Shield. He's killing a lot of SCVs and army. Bunker will not finish in time to be relevant. And he was just attacking the neutral supply depot for a second, but now it's got his head screwed on straight again. A lot of army dying here for Heart, but this is actually working out really well for Heart. He nearly killed that Immortal, not quite. Will he get the Immortal? Yes, he got the Immortal. So there's only a small handful army there for Parting left, and in the meantime, he lost every single probe he has. Now he will just lift off his command center. He could go to the island, he could make 1 SCV, kill the rocks in a million light years, a million years of time. Not light years, it's distance. And Parting can actually not make anything anymore. I mean, he has 1 pylon warped in there at the front, but there's really no way for Parting to win this game anymore. It will either be a draw or a win for Heart, it seems like.
Yep, I agree. I mean, with the units that are here out on the field, I mean, he's definitely got to be careful not to overstim any of these units. He's moving all of his production and his entire base over to Parting's base. Parting is left. If we look at the unit tab with an Immortal, 2 Stalkers, and 4 Sentries, and there we go. I mean, this could just be every building. Nope, there is a pylon back here.
And I just want to say, when you speak of build order wins or build order advantages, this was your typical of Parting has a major build order advantage. And Heart, he's beating the odds, basically. I mean, he had that Marine at the expansion, he knew there was no Nexus, he had the Marine at the Xel'Naga Tower, and instead of sitting back and saying, well, I hope I can hold your Immortal attack, he did something really clever. He kept his army there. Parting did not think to check. It would not be a standard move to like check if the army is there. And Parting is beating the odds. Now it all comes down to this fight. How will it go?
Well, there's a stim, and that is going to mean that these units are that much more weaker. They actually tried to snipe that Immortal, which I think was a good decision, but all they managed to get was the hardened shields, and those, of course, will regen. I do not feel like he can actually force another stim, but we have some more Marines coming out. A couple of force fields are actually wasted there as they do force Heart back just a little bit, but he is now producing out of these racks, and that is not going to be a good situation there. 2 more force fields come out, and those were great force fields. He really needed it, but again, what does he do at this point? You know, I mean,
well, the funny thing is,
technically he could lift and win, right? I mean,
well, it will be a draw at the worst unless Heart screws up a lot. He will try to lift now, land now, mine a lot of money with mules quickly. No, he doesn't. He picks up again. He decides it's not the time yet. He sees that observer. He can't. He can actually land on the island and mine there, and there's no way for Parting to get there. So, not sure why he's not going to the island yet. There used to be creep there, but in the new version of Metropolis, there's just the rocks. There's plenty of space to long distance mine with mules. Now I feel like he did get that idea. And
yeah.
Parting GG's. He knows. You will soon be mining. You've still got that factory. Eventually you get money. There's no way for me to get there. And Parting decides to save us all a lot of time and says, I can see where this is going.
That could have been a lot of time that was eaten up there. Axelav and QXC, an interesting game. Not your usual game that we see there on Metropolis. What were your thoughts on that?
I really think that was... you know, I don't think Parting's build order just works. It loses to a base race, and I honestly think Heart could have held the high ground. He could have left his whole army in his base. He would have held his base, and he would have been way ahead. Once he gets medevacs out, he's got 2 command centers. I think Parting's build is just really relying on Terry, not Skynet. And as soon as that Marine came in, saw that there was no Expo there, he knew it was some type of one-base play. It was just kind of over at that point.
It was interesting because Hart played that 2-rack style a little bit different. Most people, it made sense. He scouts, he checks, there's no expansion, but most people would back up. They would send their army back home. And Hart's decision to keep his army out on the map and hold that watchtower, it was really those two things together that gave him the win. The Marine sees the army coming out so that he knows 100% I can send my army into your base. And then he can take a big advantage there. What was a little strange to me is he didn't, when you do something like that, you run the risk. What if Parting had gone 4-gate Warp Prism? What if Parting had gone DT Drop? What if Parting had gone 3-gate Void Ray? All of those possibilities do damage without really going on that normal route. So in that regard, I felt like Hart's decision to just stay there with his army was a little bit risky, but it worked out really well for him. Definitely having an island on that map made a base trade basically a free win for him in that regard.
I mean, you actually mentioned something that I was thinking, and that is that you said risky. That quite frankly, what Hart did was pretty risky. Keeping his army there and just hoping that he would be able to defend if anything did come. But there's also a part of me that's like maybe it was a little bit of genius because he had the tower. He would have seen any sort of opposing force going his way. I just wonder how different it would have been if Parting would have just gone forward a little bit, or maybe even taken the other tower and saw that army there. Could have been a totally different game. But any final thoughts on that one, Grubby?
Well, I just kind of lost confidence in Parting winning the third game. I mean, he's behind 0-2. He has not shown a lot of, macro style play. He's so good at it. I want to grill him. I want to ask him why he's choosing for these kind of one-base plays. It does not seem to play to his strengths, and his opponents are kind of deconstructing him without mercy.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Well, the third map is going to be Cloud Kingdom, and you bring up a good point, Grubby. After losing 2 games, and this third game still means a lot in the grand scheme of how everything's going to play out, because everyone plays everyone, and there will undoubtedly be some ties. So games are going to come into play, versus series is going to come into play. Every game does count, but when you've lost 2, what is your mental fortitude like when you go into that third game? Either you're going to be a rock star or you're just going to crash 100%. And in the